It's Chelsea back with another book review. As always, first things first, here there be spoilers ahead, so just know that if you are spoiler adverse or have not read the series and want to, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Please feel free to check out another video. If not, thank you guys so much for joining me. I could not be more excited to talk about the books we're talking about today. We are talking about all of the volumes of the Locke and Key graphic novel series, which are as follows. Volume 1, Welcome to Lovecraft. Volume 2, Head Games. Volume 3, Crown of Shadows. Volume 4, Keys to the Kingdom. Volume 5, Clockworks. And Volume 6, Alpha and Omega. You guys have already heard me talking about these somewhat ad nauseum. I pretty much plowed through these in April and May. I finished up the last two during the hashtag a yearathon readathon this month, which was catch up on series was the theme, which is what I did, and I loved it, loved it, loved it. This is actually pretty much only my second experience ever with graphic novels. The first one being the Sandman series by Neil Gaiman, which was equally amazing and kind of similarly creepy and off-kilter, but in a much different way. The Lovecraft series was written by the Locke and Key series was written by Joe Hill and illustrated by Gabriel Rodriguez, and the two of them together are just absolutely phenomenal. Joe Hill is the son of Stephen King, and he writes a new kind of horror genre that is gothic meets the gory meets the fantastical meets I'm losing the words, guys. I'm losing the words. That's how much I love these books. In the first book, Welcome to Lovecraft, we meet the Locke family, Tyler, the oldest son, Kinsey, his younger sister, and Bode, the youngest. And in the first couple of pages, their father is murdered by a psychopath named Sam Lester, who you learn as the story unfolds was actually was a student of Tyler's father. And one day, after Tyler and his dad get into a fight, he runs into Sam and says in a very offhand way that he wishes that his dad was dead. And of course, when Sam kills his father, Tyler feels an overwhelming amount of guilt, which, comes back later in the story as the ghost of Sam Lester becomes important in terms of furthering plot lines. But after all of that happens, the Locke family moves back to Key House on, I believe it's called Lovecraft Island. I'm going to double check that. Yes. Anyway, so they move back to their dad's old house on Lovecraft where they live, and they start to, Bode kind of finds this key, and he opens this door, and he realizes that there's this echo in the well house, but it wants out, and he wants to help it, but he doesn't, and he thinks it's okay, so he lets it out, but it's not okay. Turns out that echo is a really bad ghost demon who wants to start some creepy ass shit, and that's when we first start to see the keys, the well house keys, the first key we see. In the second book, Head Games, we are introduced to the head key, which is a key that opens up the head of a person, and you can put information in or take information out. I showed you that gorgeous panel the last time. I'll see if I can find it again. It's one of my absolute favorites in the entire book, and it's an illustration of what the mind of a 10-year-old would look like. I don't know how well that's transferring, but it's absolutely gorgeous and amazing and detailed and fantastic, and I'm absolutely in love with it. This is just here. I'll flip through to give you guys kind of a glance at some of the rest of the art. I love the way it's drawn. It's got this not hyper realistic style, but it's also not cartoony necessarily. The color work is amazing. They make really good use of past and present. Anyway, in the second book, Kinsey takes out her fear and also her sadness, which actually takes away a lot of her precaution later in the books, and it also teaches us kind of what happens when you do or don't remove thoughts from a person. The second book, before I forget, also introduces us to a creepy guy named Zach Wells, who's actually the escaped spirit of the echo that was living in the well house, and it was the demon I was just telling you about. In Crown of Shadows, we learn about another key, a key that fits into said Crown of Shadows that gives you control over the shadows. This book is mainly about Zach using that crown to try and murder the Locke children. It doesn't work, but we are introduced to kind of another aspect of the creepiness in this house. In Keys to the Kingdom, things kind of start to fall apart. That's when we learn about the music key, which is a key that kind of basically, if you use the music key, a song will start to play that controls the person in the way you want them to be controlled. So if I didn't want you to be able to move physically, I would turn the music key, and basically the song would start playing that would rhyme about how you had to keep in place and you couldn't move anymore. Also in this book, Zach Wells his identity falls apart. We know who he is. But because of the trick of one of the key house doors, he manages to get into Bode's body, and that's what we don't know. What we don't realize is that they've killed the body of Zach Wells, but not the spirit, and the spirit is now alive in Bode, and Bode is trapped in the spirit world. Bode is the youngest son. In Clockworks, we see as, Zach as Bode tries to continue to get what he's searching for, which is the Omega Key, which is a key that will open the door to hell and allow him to bring in fellow demons. Mainly, though, what Clockworks is about is the tale of Tyler's father, back when Tyler's father was in high school, and how Tyler's father and his whole group of friends went down into the caves below Key House and opened the demon door and brought in the demon that is Zach Wells into the world to begin with. Later, he ends up trapping him in the Key House, which is where Tyler meets him. But it's all about how, and his friends and who he lost and how they died and who lived and who didn't live. And so this is really the book in which we get a bulk of the backstory, and we really kind of put all the pieces together and leads us up to the final showdown, which takes place in Alpha and Omega, because Zach as Bode has managed to get his hands on the Omega Key. He's going to open the demon door. The reason why he's going to open the demon door is probably the one thing I'm not going to spoil for you, so you still have hopefully some reason to go out and read it other than everything I've already told you. But shit goes down just not quite as anybody had planned. But the ending is completely fitting and amazing, and it made me cry for all the right reasons, and I absolutely loved it. I am not exactly an expert in reading graphic novels. Like I said, this is only like my second experience ever, but I have to say these have truly kind of opened my eyes to what can happen when story and picture and art merge together, and it's this like new kind of sensory experience. Like, yes, I flew through them, but it was different than watching a TV show. It was different than reading a book. It was different than anything I'd really kind of ever done before, and it made me really excited because I have the first couple of volumes of the Sandman series in floppy paperback bind up, and so I think I'm going to reread those actually, because I'm a little bit on a graphic novel kick. I'm also looking to pick up Saga by Brian K. Vaughan, which I'm seeing everywhere on BookTube, and it looks absolutely fantastic. But all I can say about Locke and Key is that it is creepy, and it blends amazing elements of kind of classic fantasy and lore with, retellings of fairy tales. There's some Shakespeare allusions. Figuring out what all the keys did and where all the keys came from and what the different keys controlled was one of the most fun parts. Imagining what I would do to make my own, like what key I would make for myself, like what magic power I would want. That's something the characters in the book do. They play this game, and it sounds absolutely thrilling. It was something I had a lot of fun thinking about. Of course, I don't have an answer for you because that would be the only logical thing to have right now, but I don't have that. But that is my review of, one more time, the Locke and Key graphic novel series. All 6 volumes right there for you. They're absolutely phenomenal. Please do yourself a favor. Add them to your TBR pile. All of them but the 6th one are out in paperback. My library just happened to have them all in hardback, and because they're so beautiful in hardback, and they all, I think they all do. The first one doesn't. But a bulk of them come with, here's one. Okay. A bulk of them come with these really nice, like, inbound ribbon markers, and in the front, they all have diagrams of different aspects of Key House, so they're really nice. So I'm asking for all the hardbacks for my birthday and other gift-giving holidays. Anyway, not from you guys, from, like, my parents and stuff. I just wanted to let you guys know that they are out in paperback, except for Alpha and Omega, which is only out in hardback. But either way, you guys should library them or borrow them or buy them because they're absolutely amazing. I'm going to stop rambling for today. Please, as always, comment. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you want to check them out now or if you've already read them and what you thought. Like, subscribe, all the social media, all that jazz. It's all right down below. And thank you guys so much for stopping by today. Bye. Happy reading.